CQ, Arizona, and welcome to Ham Radio and More, the show that brings you the news and information on the great hobby of amateur radio. I'm Len Winkler, KB7LPW, and today's guests are John Moore, NJ7E, and Randy Sexton, KA7UUS. I want to wish everybody a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend, and the topic today will be repeaters, where they are, in fact, what they are, how to use them, and more. Today's show is sponsored by One Stop Communications, Antennas West, Wallpaper World, and Showtronics. Randy is in the studio right now, and John is on his way. He had a little car trouble, so he'll be here probably in the next 10 minutes. And so, John, if you're listening, step on it. Okay, Randy, you want to start off with a QST about the Explorer Post 599?
Yeah, thank you, Len. The Boy Scout Explorer Post 599 is having a raffle for a Diamond SX600 SWR and power meter. It covers 1.8 megahertz to 525 megahertz, so 2 meter, 220, 440 band, and all HF also. Tickets are 50 cents each, and they're available either from myself or from any of the post members, typically at a post meeting or maybe an ARRL event.
You want to give us a phone number where they could contact you? Or
Sure. You could contact me at 846-2882, and we'll work something out.
Okay. I want to thank those of you that have sent me a self-addressed stamped envelope and a QSL card. I've sent back a unique QSL card to most of you so far. I have a few more that I have to get out. They have my call, KB7LPW, and of course the station's called KFNN. I invite you to keep sending your QSL cards to me. I'd appreciate as many as possible, and send them along with any comments or suggestions you might have to Len Winkler in care of the radio station KFNN, 4800 North Central, Phoenix, Arizona, 85012. Our phone number is 241-1510, 241-1510, or for you out in DX land, 1-800-293-KFNN, 293-5366, and we'll pay for the call. Anybody with an announcement or a QST or the desire to buy or sell any radio equipment, we'll take your calls now or anytime during the hour. If you have any questions about repeaters, any questions for Randy Sexton or John Moore, feel free to call us again at 241-1510 or 1-800-293-KFNN. We'll be happy to put you on the radio. Any announcements or any desire to buy or sell any radio equipment. Now's the time to call, because it seems that as we get to the end of the hour, we're always filled up and we never get a chance to get to everybody. Last week, last week we had about 3 or 4 people on hold at the end of the show, and we were not able to get to them. I want to mention a few of the upcoming shows that we will have. We're really starting to get into some interesting topics. This week, of course, we have repeaters. Next week, we'll have Earl Campbell, KS8J, President, and Norm Sharp, WV7K, of the Arizona Amateurs on TV Club. They'll discuss the exciting topic of amateur television and all its facets. It should be real interesting. June 9th, we'll feature Lee Finkel, KY7M, and a discussion all about contesting, the challenges and the types of DX, all the different types of DX contesting. They really get into this. It's amazing, all the different contests that are held. June 16th, we'll have Jim Stevens again from Antennas West discussing Field Day, solar power supplies and antennas to be used for Field Day. And on June 23rd, it'll be super also. Our guest is going to be Robert Sutton, the head of Army Mars. He'll discuss the Mars program and how it was used in Desert Storm. June 30th is going to be a super show, and everyone should write that on their calendar and make sure you tune in. We're going to feature Dave Blaschke, W5UN. He's in Manville, Texas. He's a man who has confirmed over 100 countries. Now, that in itself, of course, is not a big deal, but he's confirmed all over 100 countries on moon bounce, which is just an absolutely amazing thing. Dave has an antenna that is in over 1 acre in size and puts out an effective power of between 3 and 4 million watts. So tune in on June 30th for that, and tune in each Sunday for interesting talk all about ham radio. I'd like to remind everybody to get involved and participate in the local activities that ham radio has in the Valley. It's a great way to attend the club meetings. The first week of June is filled with events. For instance, Monday, June 3rd, is the West Valley Amateur Radio meeting in Sun City, and you can call Ray Sumner at 972-8733 for information. Wednesday, June 5th, is the Scottsdale Amateur Radio Club meeting at the Senior Center in Scottsdale. You can give Walt a call at 947-0338 for information. And then Thursday, June 6th, is the Central Arizona DX Association meeting at the Para Club in Tempe. You can call Tony Rogozinski at 878-2929 for information. So 3 days, the first week of June, you'd be busy attending club meetings. The Arizona Amateur Radio Club meets on Thursday, June 13th at the Red Cross Building. And you can call Larry Cook at 986-2298 for the location and time of the next Superstition Amateur Radio Club meeting. I was just at the Arizona Repeater Association meeting last Thursday. They had a video of the Apollo 16 moon landing. It was really quite interesting and exciting to watch. It was pretty funny, too, in spots, especially the part of how the astronauts showed us how they do it in space. One more thing. Remember to send in your letter to your congressman about House Bill H.R. 73, the Amateur Radio Spectrum Act of 1991. It will not allow our frequencies to be taken away without giving us new frequencies in exchange. It needs your help to pass. So send a note to John Rhodes, or Bob Stump, or John Kyle, or send one to all three at the House Office Building, Washington, D.C., 20515. Do it now. We need the bill passed, and I want to thank you in advance. Oh, yes, the next Phoenix T-Hunt, the hunt for the hidden transmitter, will take place on June the 8th at exactly 7 p.m. at 44th Street and Thomas in the Thomas Mall. 146.92 is the talk-in frequency. Everyone is invited to attend, but you must be there before 7 o'clock. I mean, it starts at 7, so you've got to be there before 7 to get into your cars, to assign everybody where they're going to be. Don't be late. I will be fortunate to be with the hiding team this time, as the team I was with last month won. So please attend it. It really is a fun experience. If you've never been on one, it's really enjoyable. That's the T-Hunt on June 8th at 7 p.m. at 44th Street in Thomas. There's pizza afterwards. Once again, our number is 241-1510, 241-1510, or 1-800-293-KFNN. If you have an announcement or question for our guest, Randy Sexton, or John Moore, who should be here any moment. And we'll be back to them in a minute. I'd like to take some time now to talk about Wallpaper World. During the last week, a customer went into the new Wallpaper World store at the southeast corner of Stapley and Southern. She was building a new home, and she was pricing out some duets, which are a very, very, very beautiful form of window treatment, and one of the more popular types that are out there now. And she got the prices that they give, which Wallpaper World will never be undersold, but they gave the prices to her, and it came out to something like $2,200, $2,300. And then when the sale was going to be written up, because this was a whole home, when the sale was about to be written up, she said, by the way, I heard about it on Ham Radio and More last Sunday. And they gave her an additional 10% discount. That was another $220. So let me tell you, first of all, if you go to Wallpaper World, you're going to get the lowest prices on wallpaper or window treatments no matter what. And if you slip it in at the end and say you heard about them from Ham Radio and More, they're going to take 10% off the top. You can't beat that with a stick or with anything else. So go to Wallpaper World. They have 6 locations in the Valley, one in Scottsdale at Scottsdale Road, just south of Camelback, one on 40th Street in Greenway in Northeast Phoenix, a store in Northwest Phoenix at Bell Road and 43rd Avenue, a store at 30th Avenue and Thomas, the new store in Mesa, southeast corner, Stapley and Southern, and the store in Chandler at Dobson and Elliott, the west corner of Dobson and Elliott. That's Wallpaper World. 678-1234 is the phone number if you have any questions. But if you're going to buy wallpaper or window treatment or fabric or drapery, there's no other place to go except Wallpaper World. And don't forget to mention ham radio more and save 10%. Well, let's talk to Randy, KA7UUS. Randy Saxon of Sexton Consulting, who in his company, 2470089, does sell pagers and ribbons and ink rollers, toners, cellular phones, etc., etc. He's the adult advisor for Explorer Post 599. He's been a ham for over 6 years now, has a degree in electronics, has 14 years experience in computer programming with government and other organizations, Sperry and aircraft and others. And I welcome you, Randy, and I know you also program our 224.9 repeater and our 147.24 repeater.
Well, thank you, Len. Glad to be here.
Okay, let's start out extremely simple for those of you out there who are not ham radio operators and say, my God, they're talking about repeaters and I'm already lost. Let's get down to the absolute nitty-gritty, because Ray out there is the engineer. He doesn't even know what a repeater is. So let's now discuss what exactly, Randy, is a repeater.
Okay, a repeater in the simplest form is simply a radio relay station. In other words, it hears signals from people using very low power handheld radios, typically putting out 2, maybe 3 watts, and being up on a mountaintop, the repeater hears that and then rebroadcasts it with the power of a large transmitter, maybe as much as 20, 30, 50 watts transmits that out from a mountaintop with a very good antenna and gives you the effective power of like a large radio station from your handheld radio, so people can talk back and forth with very little power necessary.
How much does the 147.24 repeater put out? I mean, that's a question that I've always wondered. Is it 50 watts? Is it 25 watts? You're shaking your head. Do you know?
No, I can't. I don't know. That's a good question. It's less than 50 watts, and I think more than 10. It'd probably be maybe in the 20 or some 20-watt area. But because it's such a fantastic location up there on Shaw Butte.
And where exactly is Shaw Butte?
Shaw Butte is right near Cactus and 19th Avenue. It's a mountain range up there with a lot of radio equipment on it, and that's where our site is. And it's a really great site for central and western Phoenix, and you know, the whole west and central Phoenix area. We do get into the east side of town a little bit, but not really well. But because it's such a good location, it doesn't take a lot of power to do the job.
So it's basically another radio up on the hill, but it's receiving your signal on a frequency, and it's transmitting it out on a separate frequency.
Yeah, some people don't stop to think about it, but you're always using 2 frequencies whenever you use a repeater, because if the repeater was to hear you on one frequency and then rebroadcast that, it would hear itself and you know, get stuck and go into an infinite loop or feedback, whatever you want to call it.
All right. Right now we're going to have a real, and here comes John Moore. Welcome. Welcome to our studio. And you must have avoided all the police department vehicles, and welcome to the KFNN studios.
Well, you've been along on T-Hunt, so you know that sometimes it's necessary to find a radio transmitter in a hurry.
Well, we appreciate your being so prompt here and rushing in. We're just getting started talking about repeaters, and let's go over some of the major organizations that have repeaters in the state of Arizona that we would be familiar with. Randy, you want to just start with the one that we're probably all familiar with?
Okay, that would probably be the Arizona Repeater Association. They have 12 or 13 machines up right now on various different bands and stuff like that, and have a lot of good coverage, a lot of auto patches, 3 different auto patches.
Why don't we just stop right there and say, what is an auto patch for, again, those of us who...
Okay. Stepping back a little bit, an auto patch is an automatic telephone patch. In other words, it takes your radio signal and patches it into a telephone line so that effectively you have a mobile phone with your handheld radio or your mobile radio. and you can make phone calls to your friends, neighbors, family. Only limitation is that you can't conduct any form of business in any way, shape, or color.
Right, before all of you guys out there decide that you want to become ham so you can avoid the cellular telephone system, you can't talk business on amateur radio, so don't get that idea. Okay.
It's one drawback. You can't call ahead for pizzas or stuff like that. So.
And okay, so that's the Arizona Repeater Association. And John, I know you're familiar with one other of the large organizations.
Well, large in terms of number of repeaters is Northlink, and we have linked repeaters. Some people are familiar with ZIA, and Northlink is a UHF equivalent. It doesn't cover quite as much area, but a lot of Arizona. And we also have a couple of VHF repeaters, and parts of Northlink are tied into other clubs like Mingus Mountain, which is also a large group with a lot of repeaters.
Okay, so basically you'd say that's like 3 or 4 different repeaters. How many repeaters does ARRL have?
I believe it's about 12 or 13, something like that. Some on 2 meters, some one of them on 220, and some on 440. So it's a pretty good spread.
Before we go any further, we have a trivia contest, which is a simple one. I mean, this is so easy, Randy. I mean, Randy came up with this question, and for the first one to call in with the correct answer, I expect all the phones to light up immediately because you'll know the answer even before I give the question, or before Randy gives the question. Randy, let's ask the question. But the winner will receive our Sundrop T-shirt and cap. So, Randy, ask the question.
Okay, the question is, what is the standard offset, the transmit offset, for a repeater in the 220 megahertz band? What's your offset?
Okay, that's what I'd call fairly simple. So, and I do see the phones lighting up. So, hopefully we get a correct answer. We'll go back to that in a minute. Where are some of the Arizona repeaters located? That would be something. I know we discussed Shaw Butte. Where else are there some ARRL repeaters located?
For ARRL, we've got them located on White Tanks, Shaw Butte. Let me see if you can think of any.
Mount Ord.
Mount Ord, yeah, that's a real good one. Wide area coverage. You'll find amateur repeaters located on just about any major mountaintop in the area. You know, if we step out and include some other clubs too, you've got South Mountain covered, you've got North Mountain covered, you've got Mingus. Just any mountaintop that has any good potential most likely has an amateur repeater on it, so you've always got coverage and proper communications into someplace in case of an emergency, or you know, in case you just want to talk back to friends.
That's primarily what repeaters and amateur radio is all about, the use of them for emergency calls. I know that on the .24 that you program, we can just put in a 9 and get the 911, correct?
Star 9.
Star 9.
Yeah, a star means that you're accessing an auto patch feature, and if you just do star 9, boom, it automatically dials, turns off all the timers, so there's no chance of you getting timed out, because as some people may or may not know, most repeaters have a call length timer, which is typically about 3 minutes, so one person can't talk for half an hour while you've got other people waiting and waiting just to get in there. It promotes you know, good common sense and not abusing the system. But this turns it off, so if the 911 operator says, hey, hold on just a second, you don't have to panic hoping she comes back before the machine cuts you off. So it's a real good safety system. And now that it's linked into the 146.92 machine up on Mount Ord, we have absolute complete coverage all the way from Phoenix, you know, say West Phoenix, South Phoenix, North Phoenix, all the way onto the east side of town, all the way up Highway 87 into Payson, beyond Payson, up towards Heber and up towards Strawberry and Pine. Absolute total coverage in through that area with auto patch for 911 calls or any other type of emergency. So it's a very effective system. It's great.
That's amazing. And Northlink, where are some of those repeaters located?
Well, Northlink was put together to provide communications between Phoenix and the rural areas. So we have repeaters currently in Yuma. In the Phoenix area, we're going to be on South Mountain. We're on the Valley Center right now. We've got a couple in North Phoenix. Towers Mountain, which is between Phoenix and Prescott. There's a machine on Mingus Mountain. It's owned by the Mingus Mountain Group, but it's part of Northlink. There's an ARRL machine on Mount Ord that's part of Northlink. We have machines on Mount Eldon, which is overlooks Flagstaff, and Navajo Mountain, which overlooks Lake Powell, and hopefully this year we'll have one or two more exciting sites, but I can't say where yet.
Okay, I want to emphasize our phone number is 241-1510, 241-1510, and 1-800-293-KFNN if anybody has any calls. And we have not received a correct answer on the question that Randy has. So again, our number is 241-1510. The answers that we've been getting have been incorrect. So if anybody has the correct answer, please give us a call at 241-1510. Okay. What is this Romeo and Juliet that we hear so much about, Randy? I mean, we hear, I think there's a love story going on the top of Shaw Butte. Who is Romeo and Juliet?
Two little short people that live in the repeater to make it work, No, Romeo and
No, short people, please. That wasn't a cut. Don't call us and complain.
No, Romeo and Juliet are the names we have for the male and female computer synthesized voice that the 147.24 machine has, the 224.9 machine has. There's a machine in Tempe on 146.72. It also has the same type of controller that has a synthesized voice on it to say the stuff instead of doing things in CW or Morse code. And we just named them Romeo and Juliet so we can keep track of them.
Well, there are people who ask that question, so I just thought I'd bring it up. Okay, John, let's talk about something that we're all familiar with who use repeaters and very disturbed by, and that is intermod that we always hear about, and we always hear these weird sounds. So exactly, because I know that a lot of people are confused with what it really is. Explain to us, and John, you've built the controllers for most of these repeaters, is that correct? Or a lot of them?
Except for the Romeo and Juliet controllers.
Oh, okay.
I'm working on that.
Okay. All right, well, explain to us what intermod is.
Okay.
And as non-technical as possible.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
Intermod is when you hear other signals, when you're listening to a repeater, or you can even hear it on simplex, and you hear signals that are not really on frequency. And it's caused by two or more transmitters, their frequencies mix together and end up on the frequency you're listening to or on the frequency the repeater is listening to. And it's hard to tell which is which.
Okay. Yeah, and we're going to get into PLs and what in fact they are and why it's starting that most of the links and most of the repeaters, along with Zia especially, has gone into that, and how to encode, decode, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get into all that in a moment. We do have a winner on line 2, so let me get that here. Hello, Gary, WB7SLY.
Hello, Len.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Okay, welcome to Ham Radio and More. What is the offset?
1.6 megahertz.
Very good. I appreciate you calling in and giving us the right answer. If for some reason there were a lot of guesses, but I guess 220 isn't as popular as 2 meter is, and if I said 2 meter, everybody probably knows 600, but if maybe didn't even know on the 440, but on 220, I guess it's a little more indescript. Do you do a lot of 220 communication?
Not a lot, but a little bit.
And unfortunately, you can't do it between 220 and 222 anymore, starting, when is that?
August 24th, I believe, somewhere in close to that date anyway.
And for those of you who don't understand what we're talking about, that's the FCC taking away a couple of our frequencies again, and that's why that House Bill HR 73 is so important. So I keep bringing it up, and I hope everybody sends them a letter. Gary, you're going to get you're going to be the proud owner of a Sundrop T-shirt, which I'm wearing now, and I'm proud to do, and a Sundrop cap. Sundrop is the good news or ambassador for the state of Arizona. It's the goodwill ambassador for the state of Arizona. He is cute, cuddly, and everything that is good about Arizona. every other state of the union has raindrops, but in Arizona we only have sundrops, and you'll get a cap and a T-shirt, and if you don't want one, you can give it to your children, but they are so cute that you'll want to wear it.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you for calling, Gary. Bye-bye, 73s. All right, I want to take a moment to talk about One Stop Communications at 1201 North 54th Avenue, Suite 117. Their phone number is 269-2799. That's One Stop Communications with Jim Picard, KG7BG. If you have any desire if you have any radio equipment that needs to be fixed, any amateur equipment, a scanner, anything that needs to be fixed, Jim Picard can do it. Give him a call at 269-2799. If you mention ham radio and more, if you mention ham radio and more, you will receive a discount on their labor for repair. They are very inexpensive already, but if you mention the radio show, you will save an extra discount. I believe it's $10 off their normal rate. They are factory authorized for Standard, Uniden, Dynascan, and Maxon to do warranty work. They do all types of sales, service, installation, and of course warranty work. They sell cellular phones, business radios, CBs, you name it, they sell it. They have antennas in stock. A lot of the peripherals that we use in amateur radio, like PL259s, coax, etc., can be had for a very, very good price at One Stop Communications. And again, if you have any repairs or modifications that you need done, give Jim Picard a call, KG7BG, at 269-2799. That's 269-2799. One Stop Communications, 1201 North 54th Avenue, Phoenix, and they're in Suite 117, 269-2799. Okay, line 1, we have a call. Gene, K7NO, you have a question? Welcome to Ham Radio and More.
You off here. The name is Dean, by the way, D-E-A-N.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dean. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, one point. If anybody has any experience out there with PRB1, I wish that they would get a hold of me. I'm doing a paper on the subject and would like to get some inputs on any court experience or city experience that people have had with the antenna restrictions.
John is shaking his head. He has some knowledge about
I can just barely hear you, Len.
Okay. Is this any better?
Not really. Sounds like you're in a tunnel. Anyway, also I'd like to point out, and I haven't found it in Part 97, but using a repeater or an auto patch to defeat toll charges is illegal, I believe.
Okay, John Moore wants to respond to that. Go ahead, John.
Okay. First of all, your second statement is what would be called an urban legend. It's not true. I've looked into that in some detail, including discussing that with the ARRL's attorney. And it is just that. It's an urban legend. I think it was started originally because hams were afraid that if they did use the radio to defeat toll calls, that the phone companies would lobby for the FCC to make auto patches illegal, or phone patches. Actually, this got started back in the HF phone patch days. But that is a myth. It is legal to use the radio to defeat a toll call.
Okay, they have changed their position on that then, is what you're saying.
Well, I'm not saying it's advisable. It's legal. There's never been an FCC rule to make it specifically illegal.
Okay, I can't find it in Part 97. Up until the most recent changes to Part 97, there was a footnote in there to that effect, and that may have been deleted. It's entirely possible, since I don't see it in there now.
Okay, on your question on PRB1, you might talk to the folks in Mesa, because they recently won a battle with the city of Mesa, and they used PRB1. And if you can give your phone number to the engineer here after you get off the air, I can contact you later and get you in touch with the right people.
Okay, very good.
John is, aside from all the knowledge about repeaters, John is involved with the ARRL and the FCC and the Observer program, correct?
Yeah, the Official Observer and Volunteer Monitoring Program.
So he has a lot of interaction with the ARRL, so I'd listen to what he says, and he'll give you a call. Okay, hold on, Dean, and we'll have Ray take your phone number.
Okay, fine.
Thank you for calling, Dean.
Thank you.
Okay, the next subject, let's discuss what exactly is PL. Who wants to take that?
Okay, PL is actually I believe it's a Motorola trademark, but it's fallen into common use in ham radio. It stood for private line, and what it's normally used for in ham radio is to protect repeaters from intermod and other unwanted signals. In other words, a repeater will be PL'd. I'm sure anybody who's been on the VHF or UHF bands has heard that. And that means that your radio not only has to transmit on the right frequency, but it has to transmit a subaudible tone. It's a low-frequency tone. You don't normally hear it. The repeater will not key up until it hears that tone. PL is also used by organizations which wish to keep their repeaters private, so-called closed systems.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
What's the difference between closed repeater? The fact that a repeater uses a PL does not make it a closed repeater.
Yeah, that's a very important point. For example, the Northlink 442.125 wide area Phoenix machine has a 100 hertz PL, but it's open for common use. It is not a closed repeater. A closed repeater is a repeater that's put together, set up by some people who don't want you to use it unless you're part of their little group, and that's a controversial area, and if I'm not careful, I'll get on a soapbox about it. ARRL has in its bylaws a clause that prohibits ARRL from operating a closed repeater, for example.
But now the Cactus Club, on the other hand.
Cactus is closed.
Okay. So are there benefits to belong to a closed repeater system?
Well, I'm not a member of Cactus, but it's an example of a very interesting closed system. The benefits are you're not going to talk to anybody who's not part of the system. Maybe that means the repeater will be more available to you. The Cactus system covers California, Arizona, and New Mexico. I don't know where all it goes.
I think it covers Nevada, too.
Yeah, Nevada. It's got links all over the place. Very fancy system, but it is closed. You've got to be a member. You've got to pay your fees, and that is different from ARRL or Northlink.
Okay, so they're all open. Even now, not all the ARRL repeaters use PL at this time? Is that correct?
At this time, very few of them. I think there's one on
2.4.
Well, 2.4 doesn't it can take advantage of it. The machine on 442.85 has a 100 hertz PL, I believe, just to keep it clean. On 147.24, that's an interesting point. The machine will decode the PL. If you have the radio sending the PL, it will decode it and lower the squelch a little bit. So if your signal is very weak, that will prevent you from dropping in and out and in and out, as your signal flutters. But aside from that, it's definitely not required, and it'll work fine without any PL. One thing I think John might want to comment on it is the PL on the output, which is kind of different.
Okay, I wanted to comment on another point. I'll let you get back to the output because I didn't even know about that one. But the PL on 2.4 is an example of where it's used to reduce interference, because the 2.4 repeater and the 6.4 downtown auto patch are natural, I guess I'd say intermod partners. They tend to interfere with each other. And reducing the sensitivity a bit on 2.4 and then putting in the PL keeps that interference from happening. So that is an example of where PL is used to reduce intermod. And tell me about this output PL. That sounds like a useful thing, Randy.
Okay, well, on the 147.24 machine, this is requested by some of the members of the club, and so the tech committee actually hopped right to it and put it in. Anytime that 724 is transmitting, it's also transmitting a PL signal. Now this is just like what you would do if you're going to use a repeater. You would transmit a PL tone to the repeater. The only difference is this is the repeater transmitting to your radio. And the purpose for that is if you're ever using a handheld or pretty much any type of radio in downtown Phoenix, there are so many transmitters and so much power and so much intermod and mixing going on down there that you're going to hear everything but what you want to hear. What you can do is get a PL decode board and put it in your radio, or a lot of the new ones come with it standard, and just tell it not to turn on until it hears the 100 hertz squelch, or 100 hertz PL.
Is that 100 hertz encode?
Yeah, 100 hertz PL decode, and that way, even if there's tons of intermod coming in on that frequency, your radio will be quiet until it hears the 724 machine.
Okay, we'll get right back to you guys. I'd like to take this time to welcome a brand new sponsor to the show, Showtronics, at 1831 West Rose Garden Lane, and their phone number is 256-2266. I'm very pleased to be able to talk to you about Showtronics. When I visited the store this last week, I found it to be large and filled with both software and hardware, and what was most impressive, it was filled with customers. It's not your normal computer store, Showtronics. They had many trained salespeople on hand to assist you. All the customers were being taken care of. It wasn't like a self-service store. I took a tour of the store. I took a tour of the adjoining facility, and I saw the extent of their size and their scope. In the other facilities, there were, 15, 20 service people. That makes up part of the 45 employees that they have, and they were busy configuring new machines that they had already sold. They were repairing and servicing some of the older machines, but the thing that impressed me was that a lot of activity was going on. Showtronics has been in business since November of 1985, which is a heck of a lot longer than most of their competition. They have free DOS classes every Saturday. They have quick menu classes every Tuesday night. They really are the quality computer company, but they're also extremely price conscious. Basically, they have two lines of computers, their Max line and their Tech lines, which I'll get into much more next week. But suffice to say now that in their Tech line, they absolutely, positively, beyond a shadow of a doubt, will beat all prices from competitors on identical item setup systems. And Showtronics always uses the best parts available. And as a special inducement to get you to go over and see Showtronics for yourself, Showtronics will give you, just for going in, a free box of computer diskettes if you mention ham radio and more. That's right, you didn't hear it wrong. If you just take a little ride and go over to Showtronics at 1831 West Rose Garden, that's about 2 miles north of Bell Road off of 19th Avenue. You go into Showtronics, look around, see all the merchandise that they have, mention ham radio and more, and you will receive a free box of computer diskettes. Okay, you can't beat that. Their prices on software and selection are great too. You can give them a call if you want to sign up for their free classes at 256-2266. Now that's Showtronics, 1831 West Rose Garden, just north of Bell Road off 19th Avenue, 256-2266. Oh yes, Mike Connors, NQ7K, works there. He's the production supervisor, and will be very, very happy to answer any and all questions you might have regarding computers and their interlink with ham radio. So that's another benefit that you have at Showtronics. Showtronics, the more you know about computers, the better Showtronics looks. So again, go in for your free diskettes, mention ham radio and more. Do it. Don't forget. Be there Tuesday. Okay, line one, we have Frank, KB7LTL. Welcome to Ham Radio and More. You have a question? Oh, I know who you are. Go ahead.
Thank you, Len. I have a question for John Moore.
Okay, go ahead.
John, are you the same John Moore who is involved with the Hurricane Watch?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, I want to congratulate you. I've heard you in 1988 and 1989 on 20 meters conducting your portion of that WatchNet. And you certainly have done an excellent job. and it's a valuable service.
Well, thank you.
And I wish you would comment a little bit on it, how other hams, what equipment is needed to apply to that net. And I'll hang up now and listen to your comment on the radio.
Okay, Frank, thank you for calling.
Okay, the Hurricane WatchNet is, it operates normally on or about 14.325 when there's a hurricane within 250 miles of land. And it operates in support of the National Hurricane Center, relaying reports to them, especially from yachts, boats, and so on out there, and relaying their advisories back out to the area. The net has a relatively small number of net control stations, which are, I guess I could say that you have to go through a little certification course. If you're interested in the net, I don't have the names here as to who to contact.
Actually, we were planning on doing a show in July on those type of things, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. I would ask this, based on our experience with Hugo and Gilbert and some of the more publicized hurricanes, and that is if you are not part of the net operation and not in the affected area, we generally ask people not to transmit, to listen, but not to transmit, because we do have a lot of trouble with well-intentioned people doing that. The July program will tell you how to get involved if you're interested in getting active in the net operation.
Okay, I appreciate your call on that, and so does John, because I know he gets really involved with that. People from all over the country call him and ask him questions from different news organizations, so he's very, very, very into that. And we are privileged in Arizona, actually, to have John, as a local resident, getting involved with that and having national attention. Let's take a second to talk about probably what most people consider the most used repeater system, and that's the Zeolink. Who would be the most familiar with the Zeolink? Randy, you want to just explain a little of, you might not have an exact map, but explain what the Zeolink is, basically.
Okay, the Zeolink is a system of repeaters throughout the southwestern United States. They take, and just to start off at a basic description of what a linked system is, they just take two repeaters in two different areas and link their audio together on a different frequency that you don't even need to use or anything. And then all of a sudden, if you talk on one repeater, you're talking on all the repeaters. The ZIA system covers Arizona, New Mexico, let me see.
Does it go into Nevada?
I don't think we have anything in Nevada, but it goes all the way up to the border of California. We're talking Quartzsite, Phoenix, Show Low, Tucson, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, El Paso, Texas, just all over the place. And for what it's worth, they have PL'd all their machines just recently, and that's an open system for anybody to use, and it's real good for travelers. The PL tone on that, just to help publicize it so people can get into it, is 162.2 hertz. So,
and that's fairly new, because like 2-3 months ago there was no PL on that, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, they just did that because it was getting kind of noisy. All it takes is one machine anywhere in the entire system to get noisy, and the whole system is noisy. So it's made the ZIA system real quiet now and a lot cleaner.
I want to take a moment to talk about Antennas West. Jim Stevens, KK7C, who was a guest last week from Antennas West, and we had a tremendous amount of phone calls regarding antennas, etc. He's in Provo, Utah, and his number is 1-800-926-7373, 1-800-926-7373. And of course, he's famous for the Tiger's Tail and the Half Square and many, many products that Jim produces, and they are manufacturers of their own antennas. He gave me an item to basically push today because because we're talking about repeaters, and that's the 5/8 slim duck antenna, which he claims to be the highest performance mini duck he's ever had for 2 meters. It's the best 10.5-inch highly flexible antenna for 2 meters that he's ever seen, and normally he sells that for $19 plus $1 for shipping and handling, which is $20 obviously. And if you want to purchase one at 1-800-926-7373, he'll send you along with that a high-performance mini duck, which is 3 inches tall and has a $7 value. And if you add a tiger's tail, and I know most of you already purchase a tiger's tail, but there's a few of you that still are left out and don't have one. And, you have just a regular antenna ducky on there, and you need a tiger's tail to get the full ground plane effect and the full output on your HT. For $25 complete, you'll receive the 5/8 slim duck, which is a 10.5-inch highly flexible 2-meter antenna. You'll receive the high performance mini duck, and which is 3 inches tall, and you'll receive a tiger's tail for $25 total, including shipping. Really, you can't beat that, and you'll be able to hit all the repeaters, the 2.4 and every other repeater that Randy programs, and every other repeater that's in range. And you'll get more repeaters in range than you did before without the tiger's tail. So hop on it, 1-800-926-7373. And if you just want a tiger's tail, call him up and mention Ham Radio and More, and he'll ship you out a tiger's tail only for $5. And that's a real good price, and everybody that's used it will confirm that they do work. They can't help but work. So buy your tiger's tail from Antennas West. All right, let's see where we're at here. What kind of unusual problems do we run into every now and then with repeaters, especially with the programming of some of the repeaters, Randy, since you get involved with that?
Good question. Don't you have any problems? No problems, me. No problems.
Well, we sometimes hear the link is down or the repeater is down, and then we got to wait till you get in your truck or van or whatever and take the long ride up the mountain, and then we hear all the mud is falling and there's avalanches, and and you have to knock off the bears on the way up there. So, I mean, don't you have any unusual stories?
Must be talking about Mount Ord.
Mount Ord, okay.
Yeah, I don't know about interesting stories, but no, a lot of people. I'm glad you mentioned that because a lot of people wonder, when a system goes down, their favorite system, whatever that might be. A lot of people get really upset that, well, gee, it's taken them so long to fix it. And what a lot of people I don't think realize is that for what these techs are getting paid, which is nothing. None of us get paid anything for.
And I wanted your job. I thought you were making so much. Well,
they'd probably double it for you, right? But, no, for what people are getting paid, it's a hobby, and a lot of people don't quite understand that. Like you said, a lot of times you're trudging through snow, mud, ferocious creatures. And in fact, we just had a guy or a team up on Shaw Butte this afternoon fixing up one of the machines, the 220 machine, and they ran into a rattlesnake up there at the site, just right outside the door of the repeater cabinet. So, there's all kinds of interesting things that go on at the repeater sites, and unless you have a 4-wheel drive, you just absolutely cannot get up to some of these sites because they are such good high up sites and remote. So as far as maintenance, I think that covers most of the stuff. It's a nice thing to do, a nice quiet thing to do if you like the outdoors, to go along with one of the tech teams to work on a site with any club.
Well, I think we're fortunate in Arizona to have such a fantastic group of repeaters, and obviously people who spend their time devoting to program them, etc. But I mean, I was in Florida recently, and I didn't see that they had the kind of camaraderie that's here. I mean, they weren't as. I mean, don't take this wrong, guys in Florida, but I didn't feel the help as I do when I hear people from out of town in Arizona here, and we bend over backwards to help them, and I just didn't get that when I was in Florida. And of course, I think we're the envy of the United States with all the links that we have. I mean, we can talk, which repeater is it that we're able to access the California link on? We're actually able to talk with a handy talkie and talk to San Diego, is that correct?
This is ARRA's machine on Smith Peak. Is White Tanks linked into that now?
Yeah, they've got White Tanks, Smith Peak, Monument Peak in San Diego, Black Mountain, just northwest of Yuma. It's a real nice system. In fact, I was over in San Diego a little while ago, and it was just like talking around Phoenix. You're just right there. So they cover San Diego real well, Phoenix real well, Wickenburg, Yuma, all on a link. It's open to the public.
That's one of the ones that we can access, turn it on, or turn it off. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is.
You want to explain how we do that? Because I'm not even sure. How do we access by turning it on and turning it off?
Okay, on the one node, I guess you might call it, or the one repeater on the system that is switchable, user controllable, is White Tanks. And that's because White Tanks gets used by a lot of people locally, and they don't want to tie up the link when they're just chit-chatting locally. Normally the machine will be turned off link. It'll be off of the link. If you want to bring it up on...
And which frequency are we talking about?
146.94.
Okay, go
That's
ahead.
on White Tanks. If you want to bring it up, just key up ID, and it's #171 star. And that brings it up on link. And it'll stay up indefinitely as long as you're talking on it and stuff like that. And then 5 minutes after anyone's transmitted on it, if it goes 5 minutes without any activity, it shuts itself back off automatically. If you know you're not going to be using it and you just want to turn it back off like you found it, the code is #172 star. And you can just turn it right back off link. Like if there's people on the link talking, you just want to use 146.94, you could turn it off and then be talking locally. But always remember ID before doing any tones.
I was going to mention that's the most important thing. The control operators, and a control operator is someone monitoring the frequency, basically 24 hours a day somebody's monitoring, making sure that everything is working properly and that it's getting its proper use, etc. People are using it properly, and there is proper etiquette, etc. Well, the main thing to do is to ID before you do any testing, before you do any keying, anything. I mean, the auto patch, etc. You must ID. I don't know any group that has any other requirement.
Most groups don't even have open auto patches like ARRL does. It's fairly unusual.
They didn't in Florida. I asked for how to get into it. They were not helpful. Now, I might have talked to the wrong guy, but they were not exactly helpful to me. Okay, I want to take a minute. We have about 5 minutes left in the show, and I want to take a minute to talk about Ken Nichols of Linda Brock Automotive. Ken Nichols is the fleet manager for Linda Brock. He's not just a new car or used car salesman, etc., etc. He is the fleet manager. If you walk into Linda Brock and you want to purchase a car, you're going to buy it on a retail price level. You're going to go in, negotiate a deal, and make the best one that you can. If you call in advance, and you must call in advance, 228-2336, and make an appointment with Ken Nichols. You can't deal with Ken on the fleet level unless you call in advance. You are going to be buying at a wholesale level. You're going to buy at a price that is second to none. He is absolutely positively going to sell you a car the lowest price you can get. I mean, there are hams out there who purchase cars from Ken who will attest to the fact that they've saved as much as $2,000 compared to a comparable deal elsewhere. Ken has a fleet savings sales plan that is second to none. Allied Signal Employees Club uses them, Motorola Credit Union, the B.F. Goodrich Company, Gosnell Builders, Dillard's, and Amway Auto Network in Minnesota. Companies all over utilize Ken Nichols' fleet sales program. You cannot beat his price. Remember, as a ham radio operator, if you mention, you don't have to be a ham radio operator, but you have to mention ham radio and more. If you go to Linda Brock, you'll save 15% off on sales and service, which on parts and service, which is another exceptional thing. I mean, I'm taking my van in on Tuesday for service, so next Sunday I'll tell you how good they were. So, but I mean, so I'm sure they're going to do a good job for me. But I hope. But I expect to get my 15% savings. I'm going to mention. But if you want to buy a car, any vehicle whatsoever, give Ken Nichols a call in advance. Set up an appointment. 228-2336. You will not be disappointed. Okay, on line 2, Aaron. Brian or Abram? Who is this?
Yeah, hello?
Hi, welcome to Ham Radio and More.
Yeah, this is a new program that's on the air.
We've been on about 6 weeks now.
Really? Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for calling. Thank you for listening.
I listen to this station sometimes, but I didn't know they had a program on the radio like this. I'm really happy.
Well, we're happy you called in. Did you have a quick question?
I have a question about repeaters. For example, I'm just about getting my technician license, and I was wondering where can I go and take the test?
Well, June 1st, which is this coming Saturday, you can go to DeVry Institute on Dunlap. On Dunlap, do you know what's the exact address, Randy?
Approximately 23rd Avenue, 22nd Avenue in Dunlap.
Okay, 22nd Avenue in Dunlap, and you can go to DeVry. Walk-in is fine from 8:30 in the morning and take the test there. Or on June 8th, the following Saturday at Scottsdale, the Scottsdale Club, Scottsdale Senior Center, they're going to be giving VE testing, and you're welcome to go there and take the no-code or the technician upgrade.
Oh, did they pass the rule that you can take this license but with no code?
Yes, that took effect February the 14th. That is the no-code technician.
Because I know my code already. I just don't use it.
Well, I do see you have a call letter, KB7LXK, so you're obviously a novice, and you just need to take that, I believe it's a 25-question technician test, and as soon as you pass that, you'll be a tech. Okay, thank you for calling. We got to move on. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, I want to thank Randy Saxton and John Moore for being my guests today. It sure went pretty fast. Next week we'll discuss the aspects of amateur TV, and I want to thank my sponsors again, Antennas West, Wallpaper World, One Stop Communications, and Showtronics. Remember to send in your QSL cards along with suggestions and comments to Len Winkler, KFNN, 4800 North Central, Phoenix, 85012. We'll send back to you a QSL card. And by the way, anyone who'd like to help sponsor this show, drop me a line at KFNN. Might as well ask. I'll be happy to discuss the inexpensive way to get your name and product out. So until next week, thanks for listening. Randy, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
And we'll have John back again to talk about hurricanes and also the FCC Observer Program for finding people who shouldn't be on the radio, etc. Thanks again for listening. 73's Arizona. This is Len Winkler, KB7LPW, and we're clear to next week.